What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. I messed it up like I always do. But how we doing today, Casino?
I'm making it. I'm here.
You
You can
look
tell by my
awful.
raspy.
You
Oh,
look awful.
you'll probably hear it plenty of times during this podcast, but I'll be coughing. My entire family got hit with RSV. My son has been being treated here at home with pneumonia, with a nebulizer, and all the things. And it's been a rough week. It feels like like Tuesday when we were supposed to have our podcast and we didn't do it. Sorry, everybody. But it felt like I was having just somebody pound on my chest plate the entire day. It was, dude, I will take COVID over RSV any day because I'd much rather have chills and aches than feel like I can't breathe because somebody's just punching me in the chest consistently all day.
Yeah.
I'll
Usually you just
I'll
have
say that.
RBF, resting bitch face. Usually that's all you have.
There
But
it is.
today we've switched it
But
around.
yeah,
But it's
it
funny you say that because I feel fantastic after
that's
being sick
great.
for a month.
Man,
Uh,
yeah, there's a lot of different strains of RSV and the flu running rampant this year, more than COVID. I barely heard anybody have COVID this year. I've just heard everybody have RSV or that stomach bug that was going around that I had. It was either the stomach bug, RSV, or like what you had, the flu. But like
yeah.
every single thing has been knocking people out for like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Well, now I'm also suffering from PBD. Pretty big
Oh,
no. Let's move on, Casino. to, um, but also, Casino, while you've been away, there have been some football games that have happened,
oh yeah, those things. That's what
both
we're doing here.
in college football and the NFL. We will talk about the NFL in a minute. Let's talk about first Ohio State Notre Dame. Ohio State gets to a big 21-7 lead
I
by
thought it was
halftime.
28,
I think,
actually.
well, at halftime it's
Oh, at
28-7.
halftime,
And
yeah.
then they score, and then it's 28-7. Everybody thinks it's going to be a blowout. Then Notre Dame starts coming back. They make a couple plays, but not enough. Ohio State rolls Notre Dame and wins. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I thought they had a chance, especially when they came out and they had that historic drive with that 14 plays going all the way down the field. I thought Notre Dame had it, but it it was nothing against Notre Dame's offense. It was their defense. Ohio State was just too good. I don't think at the point I watched going into the fourth, they had scored on every single drive. Ohio State did, and no matter what you do on offense, if you can't stop them at least once, you're toast, and that was the case. So,
Yeah.
sadly, Notre Dame lost because that's who I was rooting for my grandpa. But you know, good for Ohio State to come back and take care of that. So good on them. So
Well,
until
also
next year.
with that Notre Dame opening drive where what is it? It was just the quarterback basically running every single play and just
Oh,
uh
he was gassed. Absolutely
that's what
gassed.
I'm saying. After that, they kept showing him, and he was literally just like sitting on the sideline by himself, and he just looked exhausted. And the
Right.
rest of the game, it never looked like he recovered from that.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the smartest move. And then after or during the game, like the announcers are like, we're going to be talking about that historic drive forever. We're going to be talking about that historic drive forever. And it's like, are we? Because they just lost by 11 points. And it kind of looked like the reason they lost was they used up all their energy and whatever they've been stewing for this game in that opening drive because they never got to that for the rest of the game. And then also, I don't know about you, Casino, but before this game started, I don't think I saw one commercial. I don't think I saw a banner. I don't think I saw anything online promoting this. Like there was, I believe I read somewhere where this was like the fourth lowest college football championship like since they started
Yeah, because Bama wasn't in it.
well, since they started doing TV ratings, but I think that was also just because this was maybe the worst marketed championship game I've ever seen. I
Yeah,
never
you're right. I hadn't heard much about it.
yeah, there was nobody talking about it. There was
I
no
wonder if
hype.
it was because it was Notre Dame in it.
and they just thought that it could, like, Notre Dame, Ohio State could just carry it.
Yeah, probably.
But I don't know. It just feels like it kind of the 12-team playoff again, it started with a whimper, got kind of good in the middle and then ended with a whimper. It's I still think it's a success for the 12 team, but I do
Yeah, they'll
think
make some
that
tweaks going into next season about it, most likely with seeding, I'm sure, but, um,
yeah,
I still liked it. I don't they're talking about adding another 2 teams. I'm not really into that idea. I don't know how that would work. Um, you'd have
no.
to get, like I honestly don't know how
Another
that would work.
buy or something like that?
You
I
would
don't
have
know.
to get rid of 2 buys, right?
Yeah, which honestly, from what we've seen from the NFL, I think them only having one team get a bye has hurt them way more than having
I agree.
the just adding another team. If they took another team away and gave the top 1 and 2 seed buys, I think that was a format everybody liked. And again, the 7 seed, besides the Packers beating the Cowboys, they haven't won 1 game. And I don't think any of those games have even really been close. So it's not like, you know, we're missing something. And I'm sure we'll have 1 year where a 7 seed will get to the Super Bowl and everybody will be like, that's why we did it. But I don't
Well, I
think it's
mean, the
worth it.
Commanders are really close to what they were 5.
Yeah, but still, that's the difference between two. That's the difference between being a fifth seed and being,
Yeah, but I mean, that's 1 regular season game.
yeah. But yeah, when it comes to this college football game, it fell 12% from just last year by itself. I thought the game itself was good. What is your opinion on Kirk Herbstreit at the end crying over Ohio State winning a national championship? Because I think I don't hate anything more than that. I don't care that he likes Ohio State. If you're an announcer for a game, like, you should, unless you're doing local radio for your team, obviously. I think if you're on the national broadcast, you kind of just have to keep it like, I don't know, not without bias. That was so weird to me. So
Well,
weird.
yeah, I agree. There was only one time I was like, "Okay, this was a big moment." So US Soccer, one of their because the board, that covers different, international games is from, like, different countries, and US beat Mexico in a really important game, and they throttled them, and, Alexi Lawless was not crying, but, like, he was choked up, and he had to take a minute, and everybody's, like, pressuring him to answer questions, and he's like, "This is a big moment, like, hold on, guys, like, give me a second."
Yeah,
So,
but see, that's even different because it's not like you're in America rooting against another team. Like in America, it's like everybody in the country is rooting for their country's
that's fair.
team.
Good point, yeah. Fair enough,
And
fair enough.
also they won Ohio State last won their championship in 2014. Kirk Herbstreit was already announcing in 2014. It's not like this is some,
Yeah, why does it mean
it's
so
never
much?
happened,
Yeah.
yeah, in my lifetime kind of thing. I don't know. I don't like that at all. Any other thoughts on college football or
No, I'm excited for next year. The super early conference, Mountain West Conference came out, and it has UNLV beating Boise this year. So, yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's mainly because it's just Gentry's gone. That's right.
yeah. And also Notre
Gentry's gone.
Dame, apparently from all the
Everybody's left.
reports and things I've read, their team next year is going to be better than their team this year with all their backups, and especially if Freeman stays, because
Yeah. Well, didn't they lose
obviously,
multiple coordinators though already?
yeah, but I mean, all the kids that are coming in and all their backups are supposed to be better than this team. So who knows? And Freeman, there was a lot of reports that he was going to be the Bears head coach, and
Yeah.
then we can segue to that.
Segu to that.
Ben Johnson becomes the
What?
Bears head coach. I 100% would have bet money that it was going to be Mike McCarthy. Thoughts on Ben Johnson as the coach, Casino, a coordinator instead of somebody like McCarthy who has, been a head coach before, had success, blah blah blah.
Um, I think this is going to be good for the Bears to have him coming on in. A reason why is you have a young quarterback that is capable of having a high-powered offense, at least in my belief. And did you see that whole Caleb Williams thing where he was like screaming in his like front yard of when
Yeah.
the Ben Johnson news happened? Like he's happy, he's excited. I think this can open up Ben John or Caleb Williams a lot. Um, I mean, This is like a cutthroat job though. Like Ben Johnson, like if your career really depends on this job. Like you would go back to a coordinator, but probably on a worse team if you this doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, I do think what
The
is it?
spotlight's gonna be on him more. The Bears are gonna have a bigger spotlight on them than they did this year.
Yeah. Well, and the Lions, I mean, they brought everybody back, which is unprecedented because he could have gotten any head coaching job he wanted last year. Same with the defensive coordinator. They brought everybody back for another go round. Injuries screwed up their season. And then, as we'll talk about, they lose to the Commanders. But so we knew he probably wasn't staying with the Detroit Lions. He'd been there for 5 years, 3 years as the offensive coordinator. But I think when you're going to a situation like the Bears, that's why I thought the McCarthy would have been a good hire for them. Is he would have brought success with him because everything in Chicago is always such a great unknown. They always just hire like Matt Nagy and Trubisky, and just they always pair random coordinator who's never been a head coach before with rookie quarterback. And they did have some success with the double doink game and Mitchell Trubisky and all that kind of stuff getting into the playoffs. But if you're the Bears and you have what many people are saying is one of the best rookie quarterbacks ever, and even you and I were saying during the season, he got better as the season progressed. The team didn't, but he did. So I don't
As
know
long if he could
why.
just get rid of the ball a little faster, he's solid.
Yeah. And
And
then
that
also,
that can be taught very easily.
well, yeah. And you also, that relies on concepts and just, routes not taking too long to develop. As an Eagles fan, I know way too much about that. But yeah, I just think, again, you never know with coordinators because there's so many times where a coordinator, much like what is it, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, where now everybody's talking like, oh, should he go in the Hall of Fame as a coordinator and not as a head coach because he wasn't a good head coach. But there's just some people, Vic Fangio, a lot of offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators just make their bread and butter on one side of the ball, don't really have, I would even say, the interest to be head coaches. And they kind of just get offered these jobs with a shitload of money and they're like, why not? And then the second they fail, they just go right back to being one of the best offensive or defensive coordinators. So you're right. The Bears will probably give him 2-3 years. If it's a dumpster fire, he'll just go probably to a worse team and just go right back to being offensive coordinator. So,
Yeah.
but besides that, Casino, are you ready to talk about the games this weekend?
Let's
The
go.
games. So let's first talk about, we'll just go in order here. The first game on Sunday is the Commanders traveling to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. But because we missed Tuesday's show, let's do just a quick recap of how we got here. First, starting with the Commanders, they blow out the Lions in Detroit 45-31. I've been saying it on this podcast for at least 2 months. There was going to be a game where the Lions lose a shootout. And that was just going to be that was going to happen. They needed to get one stop and they couldn't. I never in a million years would have thought it would have been this game against the Commanders, but it was this game against the Commanders. So,
Well, the big thing that happened in this game, though, yes, the Commanders won by 2 touchdowns, but the big thing was the Lions had 5 turnovers. They've already done it once this season, and they were able to barely win, and so that was huge. Jared Goff let them down. Jared Goff let them down.
yeah. Yeah.
That's my whole take on this. Yes, I know the defense, let 45 points go up, but in my opinion, that's not their fault. They had to go back on the field 5 extra times that they weren't ready to go back on the field.
Yeah.
Oh man, my whole camera got all
No,
goofy.
well, Goff threw the 3 interceptions. Jameis Williams, and maybe the play that officially put the nail in the coffin for the Lions season, has to do the wide receiver run around pass deep that he throws, the worst pass you're ever going to throw or you're ever going to see. It gets intercepted. They also had a fumble, and then again,
Jared Goff
yeah, and then
He
Jaden
had 4
Daniels.
4 of the 5 turnovers were on Goff.
So Jaden Daniels, 22 for 31, 299, two touchdowns. Again, the offense for the Commanders looked fine, but if you look at the numbers in this game, you're like, wow, 45 to 31, that offense must have torn them apart. And it really wasn't. It was the Commanders defense, like you said, Lions offense could just not hold on to the ball. And again, it's we can't even say it's uncharacteristic of Jared Goff. He's had multiple games like this just this season.
Yeah.
Not even alone in his career, just this season. Unfortunately for them, this time they weren't able to overcome them, and instead they just get absolutely blown out.
And this seems to happen. Like this happened to him with the Rams as well, man. That's kind of why Sean McVay, you kind of saw that he was kind of over Goff and he was ready to make that change. I wonder if we're just seeing it again here in the Lions that they're going to be right there, but just not be able to get past that threshold with Jared Goff. Is Jared Goff the issue? That's a good question.
Well, and the other question is this the ceiling for Goff? Because I
It
mean,
might be, yeah.
in the Super Bowl, now I know it's against Belichick and the Patriots, and that was like the last dance for the Patriots. But in that Super Bowl, it's not like he had a great game. It's not even like he had a good game. He had a pretty pedestrian, mediocre game. And then that was his one appearance in the Super Bowl. And then we've seen now 2 seasons in a row. Yesterday, at my work, just in the background, they were replaying the NFC Championship from last year where it was 49ers Lions. I forgot at one point that game was like 24-7 Lions. And then the Niners just came back. I think in that game, Goff also threw a bad interception. So it's like, is this just what Goff is? A great
Gotcha.
regular season quarterback that just kind of falls
This was
apart
a
in the
longer
playoffs.
recap than we expected.
Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you
Uh,
this. I know that I know that you obviously want your Eagles to go, but if the Washington Commanders went, that would be just a pretty cool story for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, but I also don't but it's not like now again, the Commanders, they've already won 3 Super Bowls when it was the early 90s and all that kind of stuff. They've been a dumpster fire for 20 years, but they've been a dumpster fire because of bad ownership. That's
Yeah,
literally it.
and
So
that's changed though.
the second their ownership changes, now all of a sudden they're good. So I feel bad for Commanders fans, but for the Commanders team itself, it's like everyone knew Dan Snyder was shit. Everybody was still like, it's not like that was a hidden secret or something like that. It's not like a Deshaun Watson thing where you're actively rooting against them because of how bad they are. But again, it's just the Commanders. I don't know. I feel like their story's good, but it's the least compelling of the other three teams
Yeah.
potentially going to a Super Bowl. So I just don't think the cool story is we've never seen a rookie quarterback lead his team to a Super Bowl. That's the cool story right there. But for
Yep.
me, that's kind of where the
That's the
story
only
ends.
yep, that's my only point on that, is that's why I was
Yeah.
saying it would be cool to see Jaden Daniels get there. So
Yes.
with that being said, let's get into that game. Washington, Philly. This will be the
Well,
3rd meet.
Casino. We have to recap Eagles
Oh.
Rams. And again, the best way to do that is with this video clip, which I think I have seen and watched 900
Wide
times.
open. You keep running. 118 yards and adding to it. There goes Barkley into the clear through the snow all the way
Da,
home.
da, 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 da. I love when he lets go of the ball right here, though. Ah! That run is great.
the the run and hitting the helmet as he's running might be the single greatest moment of my life that I have been the most hyped about in my entire life. Now, it obviously did help that I was in an Eagles
I
barn when
was
this
I w
happened.
I was scared shitless that he was gonna fumble that doing that.
I know, but the hitting the helmet as you're running into the end zone after you just broke off a 78-yard touchdown run, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So, it was really
That
funny. So,
is
I saw something, I
oh,
think I sent it to you. Um, I think I sent it to you, but there was a girl, in the stadium, she was filming herself, and she was like, "Break off for an 80-yard run, break off for an 80-yard run." I think I sent it to you. I'm gonna pull it up. But Like, she got it. Like, she nailed it, and she just started freaking out. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I don't have it, but,
Uh,
um
what is it? Uh Eagles Rams game again, the most hyped I've ever been, followed by the most stressed out I've ever been in my life because there's there's very few people I don't want to root against and I'm scared to root against because of how good I know they are.
Stafford.
In that handful is Matthew Stafford
Yeah.
because he's just he
He's
feels like one of those quarterbacks, much like Mahomes, even though we hate him. But when the game's on the line and they win with a touchdown and the ball's in their hands, you're just sweating bullets. I work with a Rams fan who's like born and raised LA. When the Rams get the ball back and they complete that long pass to, I believe it was either Cup or I think it was Cup on the sideline where he gets both his feet in and all of a sudden they're like 20 yards out. He just starts blowing up my phone and just being like, here we go. It's happening.
I
Like
s
blah, blah,
I saw
blah.
all I sent you was dot, 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 dot. I was just like, I just wanted you to know I was watching and I'm concerned, but I didn't wanna, like, rile you up, so I just sent dots. That was it.
Yeah. And everybody knows, especially when you watch as much football as obviously everybody who watches this show does, you know there's certain little things in a game where you're like, "Oh, this is going to be a factor at the end." So when Jake Elliott missed 2 field goals or when he missed 2 extra points and all of a sudden at the end of the game if they score, they win by 2, I was like, this is how these games happen. Like it's
Mhm.
like the little mistakes at the beginning where if they were going down and scoring a touchdown and all of a sudden that game goes into OT, I am not worried at all. Not worried at all. But the second they can win it at the end of regulation because of 2 missed field goals, I was like, this is always what happens in football. Like always this happens, but thank God they didn't. The bar, I'll tell you what, I was at the Eagles bar, which I always go to. The
It's a great
Saquon Bark,
place.
it's awesome. The Saquon Barkley run, the most people were losing their minds. My hand was throbbing and bright red from how many aggressive high fives I was giving out to just random strangers. I have never seen a tone
Did the owner run
shift.
around with his hat?
Weirdly, he was not there this time,
Huh.
which I thought was weird. He's
I
probably
love
sick.
that hat.
Yeah, it's awesome. The owners there is great. That place is great. I would shout it out, but I don't. It's already too crowded on game days. I don't want more people there.
Well, you have to get I mean, the Super Bowl, you had to get reservations,
Well, we had to show up for the Super Bowl at 10 a.m. to get a seat. So
and
yeah,
you were one of the last seats in there, I believe.
yeah. So this place, yeah, diehards. There's a lot of Philly fans in Vegas, but also
Gross.
the tone shift from the Barkley run to all of a sudden Stafford is leading the Rams down the field. You could hear a pin drop in that place, and everyone was so nervous. I literally put my head down. I put my head down on the table and I'm assuming I passed out for a full minute because there is a minute missing of my life I do not remember. But outside of that game, I'll tell you what, last little bit on that, and then we can talk about Eagles Commanders. Jared Verse, or whatever that guy's name is, Verse for the Rams, the rookie uh lineman who was talking all the shit before the Eagles game about Eagles players and fans or whatever. That guy, not only did he talk shit, he backed it up on the field. And then after the game was like, oh, yeah, I respect their fans and their players. They really love their team. That is a guy that handled everything exactly perfect that will make Philadelphia fans absolutely love him. Because if you talk shit, you back it up, and then afterwards you go, you know what? I respect how passionate you guys are. That's like the best turning from a villain to a hero. That guy, if he ever comes to Philadelphia, he's going to be an absolute legend. And I'll tell you what, he single-handedly almost won the Rams that game. He was a fucking menace. He was absolutely unblockable. He literally made Lane Johnson look like a just a pedestrian with how he was like shoving him around. And again, that's one of the best tackles in maybe football history. So for him to be that good as a rookie, like hats off to that guy. insane.
Noise. Noise and toy.
But when it comes to Commanders Eagles, Casino, we've now recapped both those games. Let's talk about or what led them here. Now let's talk about this game.
Meeting number 3.
So the first game was a Thursday night game, kind of a weird one, back and forth, as most Thursday night games are. Eagles end up winning it, pulling away in the fourth. The other game was a Sunday where Hurts gets knocked out. I think 5 minutes into the game, they were up 14-7. That game is 21-7. And then Kenny Pickett starts being Kenny Pickett. And I believe he goes interception, fumble. I think fumble again. I think he had like 4 turnovers.
He had a bad game.
Yeah, he played a Kenny Pickett game, which is Caleb Williams-esque, where he holds onto the ball way, way too long. But then, unlike Caleb Williams, he has zero self-awareness or awareness of where he is on the field. So there's a guy running at him from behind with a 10-yard start, and he just gets sacked by that guy. Never senses him, never feels him. That's what happened, I believe, in that fumble. So we've had 2 games with these two, Casino. Who you got and why in this one?
I'm going to go Philadelphia Eagles, and it's mainly because of Saquon Barkley. And you'll be able to have Jalen Hurts back out there, and he will be able to command the ball a little bit better than Pickett. He'll at least try to protect it. You might get one fumble from him. You know that he's good for a fumble because that's just how Jalen Hurts plays, quarterback. But I just don't think Washington, because I think Eagles would have won that game if Jalen Hurts stayed in, and there would be 2-0 against them this season. I like Washington. I like what they did against the Lions. They can put up points. That we know is they can put up points. Jaden Daniels is going to probably have a really good game again because you've already seen him do that to that defense once. No matter how gassed they were, he still did well, or exceptionally well. But I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. I think they're going to go back to the Super Bowl because I think now that they are a game away from the Super Bowl and 2 games away from being champions, Saquon Barkley wants it more. You saw it with that run. He wants this more. He's not won a title in any level of his career, and he wants it. He came to Philly because he wants it. He knows that he can win a championship here, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. In the first meeting these two had, Jaden Daniels 22 for 32, 191, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Hurts 18 for 28, 221, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And then Saquon Barkley 26 attempts, 146 rush yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think this game will be much more similar to the first time these two played, which ended 26-18, and then the Eagles scored 20 points in the fourth quarter to like run away with this game. The second game is where Jaden Daniels had the 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then Kenny Pickett 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 2 fumbles. So this is one of those things where very similar to the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and won it in 2017 against, who did they beat in that Super Bowl? That's right, the Patriots. But very similar to the run up to that game. There was the not the NFC Championship, but the divisional round where the Eagles played the Falcons in a really weird, really hard-fought game that led to a 4th down stop in the end zone where the Eagles, who had always been beat by Julio Jones doesn't catch the pass, game ends. And the same game that happened that weekend was the Minnesota Miracle, where Stephon Diggs catches the bomb against the Saints. And everybody that entire week was talking about the Saints Vikings game and how much of a shocker it was that the Vikings won and all the hype
It was
was
that.
around them,
It
blah,
was
blah,
that
blah.
safe. It was the safety's fault.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. But everybody for that entire week was talking about the Commander or the Vikings and Saints game. Nobody even mentioned the Eagles Falcons game. That feels eerily similar to this week, which is I've seen all the talk, all the hype, all the praise on what the Commanders did to the Lions and nothing really talked about when it comes to Eagles Rams, except for criticism of Jalen Hurts from that game, which if you watch the game, again, he did not have a bad game. The only bad play he had was the safety, which he should have got rid of the ball quicker.
Yeah.
But other than that, he had a phenomenal game. He had a dime pass to AJ Brown that he dropped. He had a dime pass to Devontae Smith that Devontae Smith got absolutely fucking annihilated and still somehow was just popped right up and was fine. And then he had a 50-yard perfect screen pass to Goddard that got called back for a penalty I've only ever seen called against the Eagles, and I hate it so much, which is ineligible man downfield.
It happens often. Tell him to stay in place, bud.
It happens every game. There's
Tell
a
him to stay in place.
I hate that rule. I hate it so much.
Anyway,
but yeah, outside of that, like he had a great game. But yeah, all the hype has been for Commanders Lions, and I think that is exactly what the Eagles want. I think they want all the publicity and all the doubt to be, or all the publicity to be off them, all the doubt to be on them, and then they just go out and again show me the recipe to stop Saquon Barkley. What is it? Because the first time they played, he rushed for 146 yards. The second time they played, he rushed for 150 yards. Both games, he had 2 touchdowns. So they're going to control the clock. Again, the one thing Hurts does not do is turn the ball over, especially this season. So they lost the last game by 3 points because Kenny Pickett turned the ball over 3 times. So even if there is a Jalen Hurts fumble, as long as he doesn't turn it over 3 times, I think they win this game easy. Now, no discredit to the Commanders. I just think the Eagles are a better team, and everybody's trying to act like, oh, well, the Commanders already beat the Eagles, as if there's no other story to that game. It's just like, well, they outplayed them. It's just like, no. Their best, the safety for the Eagles got ejected. Hurts got knocked out almost immediately into the game, and the rest of it was just again, they win that game if
and then the
Devontae
backup
Smith,
quarterback has 3 turnovers.
yeah, and then again, Devontae Smith, one of the most sure-handed receivers in the league, drops a pass that hits him where there's nobody within 20 yards of him that would have ended the game.
Yeah.
So again, there was 3 things in that game that are not going to happen in this game that are going to be the difference. But also, Casino.
What?
Well, no, for our picks that I'll just throw in right here. Do you want to guess how many games you got right for last weekend?
1.
You got 1 guess right because the game you picked correctly was the Eagles game. You also picked the Texans, the Lions, the Ravens, and Notre Dame. So
you're up by 3?
No, I'm only up by 2. It is 6-4 right now because last week you got 3 correct, I only got 2. Or no, yeah. So I'm up 6-4. So these last 2 games, we're both picking the Eagles here. But when it comes to our next game, which is, of course, tell me if you've heard this before, the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs and Bills. First, before we talk about that game, let's recap how we got here, Casino. The Chiefs had a first-round bye, obviously, and then last week they played against the Texans in a game where almost the score doesn't matter because of all the things surrounding that game and the Chiefs.
Ugh.
Let's talk about that, Casino. So the game ends. Oh, why can I not find this? The game ends
27-19.
No, it was 23-14. 23-14. I think we're looking at the other game. The Texans Chiefs.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I just rapid clicked it. Yep.
It was 23-14 with this game. But when we look at it, I think even Troy Aikman saying like this is ridiculous as a quarterback when Patrick Mahomes tries to draw a foul by tripping himself out of bounds.
Yeah. And CJ Stroud actually had a better numbers game than Patrick Mahomes, and that's not going to show. And he also rushed for longer as well, so he had a better game. But yeah, the biggest talking point we've beaten a dead horse. We've talked about the refs and this and that, blah blah blah. Is Patrick Mahomes, and this is what's been talked about all week. I'm sure you guys are tired of it, but we're going to bring it up again. Is where he goes to the sideline and he's acting like he's going to go out, but then doesn't go out, acts like he's going to slide, but doesn't slide. What do? You can't hit him. You can't hit him or you're going to get drawn for a penalty and the ball moves up. And what he's doing is he's not going against the rules. He's bending the rules pretty much, is he's living within the realm of them. And no matter how much I hate this, I just hope that players just start blasting him, and so he could think twice about doing it. That I think that's the only way to stop it until the actual league changes the rule a bit. Is just take the penalty, just blast him, and until he just can't do it anymore or doesn't want to,
You're going to get the penalty anyways. Make it worth it.
make it worth it.
Make it so, make it, and not even to hurt him. Make it so he thinks twice about doing it again in the
Yeah.
same game.
Yeah, that's what I was
why.
saying.
Yeah.
And so, but I can't fault him for playing within the rules that they put out there, and there's the gray area. Why? Is because Belichick did that for years. They had to keep changing the rule book because Belichick kept playing within the parameters of the rule book. But I think he just read that every single night before he went to bed. Is he was like, oh, the rule book. I know what I can do here. I know what I can do here. This is where I can screw him. That's what Patrick Mahomes is doing. And so it's hard to fault the guy. I mean, is it cheap? Sure. But is it cheap to what they were doing in New England as well with Belichick, doing that to the system? Yes. So you got one or two things to do. You either wait as a team playing them or a player playing them, is you wait for the league to change the rule, or you just you're going to take the penalty, make it worth it. Just go through, make him think twice about doing it. But everybody's upset about it. Everybody hates that he's doing it, but he's not the only quarterback that does it. But he's the one that perfects it. So
Well, honestly, it's a matchup between the two quarterbacks that do it the most, because Josh Allen bitches and complains to the refs as much as obviously Patrick Mahomes does. But I think the difference is there was a thing that was going crazy on X, formerly Twitter, that showed that over the last 4 years, this from Warren Sharp at Sharp Football, it said over the last 4 years, the Chiefs have had 11 playoff games. 0 of those games, the Chiefs have had more penalties. 10 games, those opponents have had more penalties. And then obviously there was,
I think it's a total of their last like 5 years or something like that. It's like 30 more, or last. I don't remember. Somebody was talking about it on the radio,
yeah.
and it was like
So
30 more flags
So
against
I
the
have a
opposing
bunch
teams.
of stuff right here
Yeah,
that might
go
come
for it.
up.
Yeah.
So the penalty differentials that stood out during the Chiefs' last 4 postseasons, 7 roughing the passers were called on the opponent, which means hits on Mahomes. 1 was called on Kansas City. 4 unnecessary roughness were called on the opponent, only 1 on Kansas City. This one is insane. 11 defensive pass interference or defensive holding calls on their opponents, only 2 on Kansas City. So by any metric, by any of the numbers you look at, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's not one of those things where there's people arguing in the comments just being like, well, they're at home for most of those games. Last postseason, every game they had was on the road, right? Except for the AFC Championship game or something like that. But they had to play all their games on the road last year, still got the favorable calls. So again,
And if you're just a statistical person, like that's just such an outlier. Like those numbers just don't make sense.
Well, also, this is one of those things where you can read about numbers all day. When you watch the games, you see the penalties that are called on the Chiefs are like bullshit first and second down penalties. They never extend drives. They never stall, or they never stop drives that are stalling, right? With the Chiefs, every single penalty it appears them to get,
On the
they
third.
get on a third down call. They get on fourth down. They get where all of a sudden they lost all momentum and need momentum back. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like the Patrick Mahomes slide again in college, the second Kenny Pickett, I believe it was Kenny Pickett, the second he did that, I'm going to fake slide and then keep going and make the defenders think that, they can't tackle me because I was about to slide down and give myself up. The second he did that, the literally the day after, they put in the rule book like, oh yeah, you can't do that. You do the fake slide, it's a real slide and you're down. Like, we're not having this. With this Patrick Mahomes thing, it's been for 4 or 5 years at this point where he always does I'm going to do the fake slide until a defender gets near me, and then I'm just going to drop to the ground so it looks like them hitting me is like unnecessary roughness and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that was what happened on the Texans game.
Well, and in this one,
both those roughing the passer, like,
were garbage.
So the first one where he was in the pocket, bullshit. Like he.
The helmet to helmet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the one that was in the pocket, like, that was crazy. And then the other one, he was a runner, and it was the slide thing. And it was the Texans players that ran into each other.
Dude, they almost killed each other helmet to helmet.
Yeah,
like
they didn't touch him. And
no.
Which
again,
that's again killing momentum, killing drives. I thought my pick on them winning, I think it was very sound because they played, and even with all those things happening, they continued to play like they could win that game. And you take some of those bullshit instances out. I mean, because what happened right after that play, right after that slide play? What happened?
They got a touchdown right after
They got that touchdown where Patrick Mahomes
yeah.
was going down, which was a great touchdown. Great athletic move by Patrick Mahomes to have the arm strength to be able to falling down and still with defenders around laser to Travis Kelce. That's a great play, but that's overlooked to me because I'm watching the play beforehand. Like, they should not have gotten that call.
Well, also, that's the perfect two-play example of that, because when Mahomes throws that play to Kelce, he stands over the defender and just is looking down at him, taunting him that he caught the touchdown. No penalty. Last year, Ravens Chiefs, Zay Flowers does the exact same thing where he stands over the Chiefs player after catching the touchdown. Penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting. So why is one okay and one not? Well, because one team is the Chiefs and the other isn't.
No, it's not even one team's the Chief. It's Patrick Mahomes. And this
and
so I had this argument in my friends chat with my buddy who's the Chiefs fan and other people that were backing him up. I was just like, this is bullshit that the NFL loves Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They want them to succeed. And I was like, that was never the case for the Patriots. The Patriots had to fight for everything that they got because they were doing whatever they could to penalize the Patriots. And they're like, oh, this is total bullshit. That's not right. The NFL was all over the Patriots nuts in the best way. And I'm like, no, everything I can think of, they're trying to suspend all their players for things that didn't even happen or wasn't able to. I mean, we're talking about Deflategate. We're talking about all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. But it was very clear that they didn't get special treatment. Like,
well, also
the NFL did not like the Patriots, and that was very well known that Roger Goodell did not like Belichick, did not like Brady. So say he didn't hate the Patriots, but he did not like those two people, and he did whatever he could to penalize them. And it is a complete opposite for the Chiefs. Complete opposite. He wants them to succeed. He wants Taylor Swift in the box. It's money, money, money. He wants whatever he can do to make money.
Even if this is the argument that I think I hate the most, let's say you can show me every example in the book of Tom Brady yelling at referees and getting calls and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? I also hated when he did that. Like, everybody always just does but Tom Brady did it. Yeah, and when he did it, I also hated it.
Yeah.
So stop letting quarterbacks do it is my thing.
That's a good
Like,
point.
in the NBA, when LeBron James complains, I hate it as much as when a player I like complains to the referee.
Yeah, and
So
my whole point on that
enough.
is, so I wasn't like really even talking about like the Tom Brady complaining or Mahomes complaining. I'm just saying the NFL wants the Chiefs to succeed. The NFL did not want the Patriots to succeed. And it's so clear because there's so much money behind the Chiefs and so
Yeah.
much money behind the Chiefs to succeed. Everybody loves them. That they're the new because when the Patriots and Mahomes came in, you still had Tom Brady and the Patriots, right? And so it was you have this new fresh thing that is going to take down this juggernaut of the Patriots, right? And they were never able to, by the way. Pat Mahomes is 0-2 against Brady in the postseason. So so saying that is they were that light that everybody wanted to defeat the Patriots, right? And that has not gone away. And all the NFL has done is just brighten that light. And because they're the money machine that comes in, everybody, young Patrick Mahomes, he's the youth, he's bringing all that in. It's more eyes, it's more viewership. Now you got the Taylor Swift thing into it, more eyes, more viewership. I mean, it's great. It's great for content. It's great for media. It is great for views. It is great for money. And that's what Roger Goodell cares about. You hear a lot through the league that players don't like Roger Goodell.
No.
Players don't
With
like Roger Goodell.
For good reason.
Yeah,
Fuck Roger
because he
Goodell.
doesn't care about their safety. He doesn't care about they're about to add another game, so they don't care about safety at all. He's
Yeah.
gonna take more home games away from teams, which is just insane because he wants an international game every single week. He's even talking about expanding or moving the Jaguars most likely to London.
Uh-huh.
He wants an overseas game. That is going to crush fans are upset about that because there's
Yeah.
a home game now that we are paying for on our season tickets that we can't now enjoy, but yet the prices stay the same. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Roger
And
Goodell sucks.
also look at
All right,
what
we're on
college
a rant here.
well, no, look what college football did where they just had like fan-friendly pricing for all their food during the national championship game. And it was like, I think they did that in all the playoffs, and food was like $5 for like everything. And it was like fans were like, oh, this is awesome, and like giving props to the NCAA. When have you ever heard props given to the NFL for literally anything they do? They
No, nothing.
even get their TV stuff right. All of this game, or one of these playoff games was on Prime. One of them was on NBC. One of them, it's
Yeah,
like,
it's all about money. Goodell doesn't
it's
care about the
garbage.
fans. He doesn't care about the teams. He doesn't care about the players. He cares about money. And then so that's why I'm tying it back into who's the most profitable team right now. And it is the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid because they started in the league and they were the team that could take down the juggernaut of the Patriots. And
Well,
he's
not even
just
that. It's Taylor Swift. Like the
well, yeah,
Taylor
no, that
Swift
that that that
involvement.
was definitely the
Yeah.
big backing on top of it, but that's where it started. And then it was Patrick Mahomes. The youth loves him. That's more viewership. Getting some fresh bodies in there,
Yeah.
and yeah, just continue. It's all money.
Now that was a very long recap for the Chiefs. Now let's go to the recap for the Bills casino. Honestly, so
Who are the Bills?
so their first round, obviously they blew out the Denver Broncos. Their second one, they played the Baltimore Ravens, where they win 27-25. Mark Andrews drops a
No. Let's before we even get to that,
Go on.
Mark Andrew drops a fumble.
Oh, that's true. That fumble was game changing. That was soul crushing.
Yeah, so he dropped the 2-point conversion that could have made it into an overtime game. But then again, Buffalo still has some time, right? No.
No. This was with like 4 seconds left.
Yeah, it was the last play of the game. That's
Yeah.
right. But anyway, so with that, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Lamar Jackson does it again. He just does not perform well in the playoffs." Yes, he had an interception, but he was 18 for 25, 2 touchdowns.
He also had a fumble, but both of those were in the first half. And then the second half, he literally played flawlessly.
Yeah.
And that like 90-yard drive to even get this touchdown was,
Miraculous.
again, Yeah, but again, we always have to, for some reason, it's only Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts that no matter what they do in a game, they have to play perfect games or they're allowed to be criticized. Like
Mhm.
it's like this. Mahomes has played what? One good, maybe two good games this entire season, and everybody still has to be like, oh, well, he still leads his team to victory. Let's not look at any of the stats, but you know, so when it came to Lamar Jackson in this game, he had a rough first half, a flawless second half, and put it on the money into the tight end's hands to send this game into OT. There was not one time during this game where I thought the Ravens were the worst team compared to the Bills. Like, I
I
don't.
no, I thought, I mean, I couldn't say they were better, but I feel like they were toe for toe. Like this was a fun game. I enjoyed this game. It was everything I wanted from these two teams,
Yeah.
in my
And
opinion.
I agree. And again, I still don't think what is it? I still don't think you can put this game on Lamar Jackson, but if you have to give a percentage of blame, maybe 10% for the interception and fumble, but again, those were in the first half of the game. It's not like they were, fourth quarter
But it
or
was still obtainable.
yeah, and then Derrick Henry at 16 carries, 84 yards and a touchdown. Now, but again, in this game, it's Lamar Jackson. It's 6 carries, 39 yards. Why is he not? Why is there not one quarterback run designed from this entire offense, this entire game?
Well, you know
Nobody can
what?
stop him.
You know what? And they didn't really do that much with let's be fair, they didn't do that much with Josh Allen. I mean, he had a few carries, but it was all like with
Yeah, he had a tush push basically.
yeah.
Both his touchdowns were tush pushes, his rushing touchdowns, which he had two of. He did 10 carries, 20 yards, two touchdowns. His
Those were off of just
passing,
like some those were off of like just trying to get a first down or a scramble kind of situation.
yeah, and then he was 16 for 22, 127 yards, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions. Had less rushing yards, less passing yards than Jalen Hurts, but
It's
again,
crazy. The Ravens had a total of 416 total yards to the Bills 273.
yeah.
That's almost
Again,
dude.
the Bills are they are really good at just bend don't break. They just don't let you score. They're one of the best at just giving up yards and not giving up touchdowns.
Gotcha.
But
I think it was you that sent me that that graph that yep, the matchup and the most total yards and the winners. So the matchup, most total yards for the Texans Chiefs, Texans. Who won? Chiefs. Same Washington Lions, total yards, Lions, Washington won. Rams total yards, Eagles won. Ravens total yards, Bills won. That is a crazy graphic.
yeah. Also, a crazy graphic is the turnovers committed by the winners of all those games, zero. So the Eagles didn't turn the ball over, Commanders didn't turn the ball over, Chiefs didn't turn the ball over, Bills didn't turn the ball over. Not once in any of those games. And if you look at it, who did turn the ball over? We just talked about it. Lions turned it over 5 times. The what is it? The Ravens turned it over twice. So it's like it really is, especially in these cold snow games, which
Which,
both
by the way,
the
that was
Eagles
fun
and
having
Bills.
two snow games in the same day.
Yeah. And
That was fun to watch.
also, this is a narrative I saw coming out of both these games, Casino, which is are snow games, do you like them in concept or do you like them watching the games?
I like all of it.
I do too.
You know
I
what?
don't care if you play
I
sloppy.
want them to play on real grass. I want them to play in all elements, wind, rain, snow, sleet. Like you're a professional football player. Play. You
Yeah.
don't need a dome. You don't need perfect AC. You don't need perfect squishy AstroTurf. Like I'm over it. Well, AstroTurf sucks, by the way. Just go back to straight grass. That's where more players get hurt. But
But now with the
it's
Lamar
cost
Jack
effective.
we'll do this last bit on Lamar Jackson, then we'll preview Bills Chiefs. Lamar Jackson in his career has 3 playoff wins. The quarterbacks of those 3 teams that he beat were Ryan Tannehill, CJ Stroud in his rookie year, and Russell Wilson, now. So does that say more about the Ravens or does that say more about Lamar Jackson?
I think it's the Ravens.
I do too. Are we sure that, again, Lamar Jackson is putting up numbers we've never seen before? He's played good in his last four postseason
I mean, we
games.
like the Harbaughs, but I mean, come on now, man.
Yeah, they're, again, the play calling, the no running. And again, this isn't one of those things where Lamar gets no blame. He gets blame for the turnovers because, again, no turnovers and you win this weekend, according to what I just read. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't, again, Ravens are weird. I don't know who to put the blame on. But now,
Moving
Casino,
on.
with the recap out of the way, let's talk about Bills and Chiefs. And
Oy
when it
vey.
comes to Bills Chiefs, this is absolutely insane. I'm going to pull this up right now. This is apparently real. If anybody wants to correct me, you can. But I've seen this everywhere and I've seen nobody saying this is bullshit. This is absolutely insane. So, for those listening, the last 5 games or the last 10 games these teams have played, they've both won 5 and lost 5. They've both scored and scored each against each other 251 points. So it is 5 wins, 5 losses. They've both scored the same amount of points and had the same amount of points scored against them. That is absolutely insane. That is insane. How is that even possible?
I don't
And
know.
this is, and then obviously you see this little one in the corner. Josh Allen has a record of 0-3 versus the Chiefs in the playoffs. So he's never beat them in the playoffs. All his wins are in the regular season, which we saw again.
Yeah. And
That
that's
just happened here. And then let me show you also this one, which is Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes head to head in their career, regular season and playoffs. This is before the last game they just played. But Josh Allen or the team points, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But the total touchdowns, 22 touchdowns from Josh Allen. Mahomes is 19. Josh Allen has 5 turnovers, and Patrick Mahomes has 9. Obviously, Mahomes is also 3-0 against Josh Allen in the playoffs. So
you wanna know what pisses me off? Is I'm reading the preview on the ESPN, app of these 2 teams playing, right? And of course, what do they have to bring up? The Bills have James Cook, Amari Cooper on offense, Gregory Rousseau, and Von Miller on defense, while the Chiefs will have Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie on the field on Sunday night. They'll also almost certainly have Taylor Swift in a luxury suite too. It's like, why? This is an ESPN report about 2 teams. Why is she into this?
Also,
Why?
this is, I thought I would also throw this one in there. This is the last stat I had, Casino. But so if you see it right there, it says most consecutive playoff games without an interception in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts are tied right now with 6 consecutive games.
You wanna know why? Is
So
because all of his interceptions get called back
that's, yes. In those games, Mahomes
on a
had,
flag that comes out 5 minutes later.
yeah. Mahomes, that was one of the things where it said half of Patrick Mahomes' interceptions have been called back because of penalty and not like defensive pass interference or something like that,
No,
like
remember
a
we talked about
holding
the
call.
we talked to about the Brady one, and it was like Mahomes has hit that in 7 years, and Brady, for interceptions called back, Brady had, I think it was like the same amount in 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's crazy. But in that 6 game stretch, Mahomes had 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. Hurts had 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns. Also, Hurts is 12-0 in his last games. He
Yeah.
started and finished 29
So
touchdowns, 300,
So
3 turnovers.
speaking of the turnover stuff, so this is where the turnovers I think is going to hurt the Chiefs because the Bills, they are league best with a plus 24 turnover differential
That's crazy.
in the regular season, and they're plus 3, and they're plus 3 in the 2 playoff games. The Chiefs were plus 6 in the regular season, but guess what? They're plus 11 and have not lost a turnover since playing Buffalo in week 11.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But it comes down to who you pick at Casino.
I'm
Chiefs or
going the
Bills?
Bills. I'm going the Bills. I don't care that they're the Chiefs. I know they're playing in an Arrowhead, but I've seen the Chiefs waver many times in Arrowhead this year against teams that, you know, shouldn't even be close to beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I think the Buffalo goes in there and do what they did earlier this season, and they take them down in Kansas City.
At the beginning of the season, what was my Super Bowl prediction, Casino?
It's Eagles, Chiefs, and you're going Eagles, Chiefs. That's fine.
Yeah. That's honestly what it is. I gotta stick it out because literally at the beginning of the season, preseason pick was Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl.
Right. So this season though, why I'm Bills, Josh Allen he's not injured. He looks pretty fresh still. I think a lot is because he was able to hand the ball off to James Cook a lot this year. So he was able to rest his body and not be as beaten up. And I think he's planned. I think his whole game plan this year was for the Chiefs. There's a lot of talk about the Chiefs. They expect to play the Bills twice a year, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs. And in doing so, that they plan for the Chiefs before preseason starts, or they plan for the Bills before preseason starts. That's a great mentality, but you don't think Buffalo's not doing the same thing? I think Josh Allen has prepped himself for this year to play against Andy Reid and the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think that's why there's just something about this season. All the other seasons, it was like, oh, Buffalo's good. They can do it. Buffalo's good. They can do it. And they just haven't been able to do it. This is I know the Chiefs are 15-2, but this is the year where Chiefs look vulnerable. Like all the other years, the Chiefs look just top tier. Nobody could touch them. And it was a hope that the Bills could beat them. This year, the Chiefs can be beat. They they're 15-2. Yes, they only lost the real one game against the Bills. The other one was because they rested everybody. But there's something off about this team. I know they squeak out the wins, and I know good teams can do that and whatnot. But Buffalo's beat them once, and there's just something about Josh Allen this year that seems different with this team. This team seems different. There's no Stephon Diggs over there to causing ruffles in the team between him, Josh Allen, and the coach. And this year, I haven't heard anything bad about the Buffalo team. Like, there's no noise in that camp outside of Josh Allen being MVP. That's the only noise. I don't hear anything else. And I think that is a recipe for success for this team. And I really think going into this game, everybody's talking about Patrick Mahomes and his whole sliding debacle, and bending the rules and this and that. I wonder if he leans into it or if the refs are like, okay, well, maybe we just can't do that we're going to have to lay off that because that's what everybody's expecting to happen. And, we don't want it to look like we're just feeding into that. I really think that flop that he did on the sideline, and luckily there was a no call, but that flop that he did, and he was trying to draw the penalty, I think that's going to raise a lot of attention. And I think that the refs, no matter, even if they're told not to, or even if they're favoring the Chiefs, they're going to think twice on throwing a flag in that kind of a situation because, yes, you might hear it from Roger Goodell or whatever in the NFL trying, conspiracy or thoughts of the NFL trying to help the Chiefs out, but they're going to hear it from the fans. And like, what do you want? Like, does Roger Goodell want to go, okay, well, if we continue doing that, say that I'm just saying if this is a thing, Roger Goodell saying, okay, do we piss off the fans and possibly lower viewership or possibly, but then again, everybody hates a villain, loves a villain. So we'll see. But I just question that. I think the Buffalo Bills can take them down. I know that was a long explanation on why I think the Buffalo Bills can beat the Chiefs, but I think it all holds water.
No, and that's all very sound. But Casino, you know what? I was gonna say my reasoning for why I think the Super Bowl is gonna happen, but you know what? Let me just why don't I just get me on September 3rd, 2024? Why don't I just get him to tell us what's gonna happen? And let's first start with Casino's Super Bowl pick, which was the Lions Ravens.
Oh yeah,
who's winning that one?
I have the Lions winning the Super Bowl.
If they didn't get injured, they would
have the Lions.
If they didn't have their defense just riddled with holes, they could have won the Super Bowl.
Now let's see what I said. Pick is going to be because again,
Homer.
we never have
Homer.
we never have Super Bowl matchups that either we haven't seen or that everybody's hyped to see, right? Look
Are
at
you wearing
last
the
year.
same shirt?
Last year,
No.
everybody was like, can't wait for that Ravens-Lions Super Bowl. Didn't happen. We got a repeat of a Super Bowl we've already seen, and then the same outcome happened, where it was 49ers Chiefs again. We made videos about how nobody wanted that Super Bowl. And my Super Bowl pick this year, I think it's going to be the Eagles, and I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I think the Eagles-Lions go into the NFC Championship game, and the
Close.
Eagles pull it out.
Close.
And then it's going to be the Chiefs. Because, again, they're going to be a team that...
This isn't hot takes. This isn't hot takes anymore.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I have the Chiefs as a wild card team. Everybody's
Ooh.
going to be talking so much shit about them. And then they're going to be like, is this the year the Chiefs finally don't go to the Super Bowl? And then they're going to play 3 games. They're going to turn it on. It's going to look like a completely different team, go all the way to the Super Bowl. And then as an Eagles fan, I cannot take them losing another Super Bowl. So do I think they will win?
No.
Sure. I
No.
want them to win. But again, I will not bet against anybody against the Chiefs in the offseason or in the postseason or in the regular season. I think they'll be a wild card team because they just won't give a shit about the regular season and save all their good
I
plays,
just don't think they're going to be.
all their energy. Wow. Past me. Props to you, buddy. Except for the wild card thing,
I
pretty
didn't
much
say that.
spot
I
on.
didn't think they were going to be good right there. You cut it off.
Oh,
I mean,
let's see.
They're 15-2, but you know what? They haven't played great this year. This is one of their worst seasons.
Wait. Let's see what Casino's take was. Now I'm curious.
No.
Oh man, I don't know, man.
I just think again, the Lions, being a
we're done.
Lions fan,
We're
being
done.
an Eagles fan, being a Vikings
done.
fan,
Turn
it's
it
just
off.
endless.
I don't like how I said. I didn't have my mic at the time. We're done.
You
Maybe
didn't
I did.
have
I don't know.
your sexy sick voice, but yeah, literally everything I said there, except for Chiefs are going to be a wild card team, is what came true. They look like a completely different team compared to the game they played against the Texans, and then Travis Kelce, of course, had his best game of the season. The defense blitzed CJ Stroud basically out of his shoes every single play. He had no shot. So September me is much like January me, where I still think that's going to happen. Only difference is in September, I thought the difference maker would be Saquon Barkley for the Eagles, which obviously he has been. In nowhere in my wildest imagination did I think the Eagles would have the number 1 defense. I thought their defense would be improved, but I think earlier in that episode, I said they would have a middle of the road defense, which is all you need to have to get to the Super Bowl. So also, I don't know. I'm saving this for when the Eagles and Chiefs get to the Super Bowl, and I've officially called it, Casino. But I made this graphic a while ago. Oh no, did it get deleted? Oh man, I'll have to re-download it. But it is a picture or a clip that Vic Fangio's defense against Andy Reid. Andy Reid is or Vic Fangio is undefeated against Andy Reid when he's the defensive coordinator. So just putting that out there. Out there. But so Casino and I both think our Super Bowl matchups. Mine is Eagles Chiefs. And I'm sticking with that. Casino is Eagles Bills. Of these matchups, which one is the least interesting to you? Because to me, I think it would be Commanders Chiefs, even though obviously my rooting interest would be for the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, well, they all have a storyline outside. I mean, even the Eagles, I guess, they all have a storyline. So you got the Commanders, you got the rookie, right? Only 6 rookies have ever made it to taking their team to the conference championship. Most recently, Brock Purdy. And then you also have the Saquon Barkley, having the best rushing year, one of the best rushing years ever, best for the Eagles ever.
I think if he has 150, over 140 yards in this game, it'll be the most yards ever by a running back in a single season in the history of the NFL.
So, I mean,
So
that's a
yeah.
great story, and then plus, Jalen and Saquon both won it, and then you have
Well,
the
also
Bills
for the Eagles, it's the revenge,
revenge game.
especially
Yep,
if it's against the Chiefs. So
right,
yeah.
and then you have the Bills who, famously they lost the 4 Super Bowls in a row, which is just still one of the most sickening things I've ever just sports
Dude,
media just ever had to
the
think about.
Four Falls of Buffalo is the best sports documentary I've ever
Dude,
seen.
it
Probably only second to The Last Dance.
dude,
Those
it
are the
makes
2
it
best sports
crushes
doc.
my heart.
Dude,
Um,
when Don Beebe is reading all the letters fans sent him, if you don't tear up or cry in that moment, you're not a man.
yeah.
That is, oh my god.
And then obviously you got the 3P going for the Chiefs. So, I mean, there's a lot of storylines. So I really don't know if there would be a bad Super Bowl. Like
Yeah. Well, the
I would
obviously the Super Bowl nobody wants is Eagles Chiefs because we've already seen it. I think what the one everybody
I
wants
mean
is
viewership would
Commanders
be
Bills.
viewership lowest would be Washington Bills.
Yeah, because there's just no I don't feel like there's a story there. I like a
No,
story between those 2 teams there.
no,
Like
there's not
there's
a story
no
between the 2 teams. There's just a story individually for those 2 teams. But I
yeah.
mean,
And
again,
obvious and
just
honest
viewership money wise, and that's why that probably won't happen.
yeah. The one I think obviously is going to happen is Chiefs Eagles. That's the one I most want to happen because I want the Eagles to get their revenge on the Chiefs and
No.
beat the Chiefs. But I'll tell you what,
Let me ask you this. Would you rather play the Bills or the Chiefs?
I this is why. I'd rather play the Chiefs because I want the Eagles to beat the Chiefs. I don't want to play the Bills because I don't want to beat the Bills in a Super Bowl. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. You don't
I
want them to
don't
lose another Super Bowl. You don't want to be the
ye-
reason they lose another Super Bowl.
yeah, I have no ill
I'll
will
be
towards
honest.
the Bills.
The only way I'm going to be cheering for the Eagles is if it's the Chiefs, because if it's the Bills and the Eagles go in, I will cheer for the Bills. I'm sorry, buddy. I love you, but I
Yeah.
will be cheering for the Bills because you are my, I guess you get our friend Hawk, but you are my solo Eagles fan.
And Hawk is an Eagles fan because of me.
Yeah.
Just
So
FYI.
you're my solo Eagles fan, and then I just have a lot of friends who are diehard Bills fans, and like a few of them are from Buffalo or they have their family from Buffalo, but a few of them lived in Buffalo, and like their whole house is covered in Buffalo. Like they're that kind of fan,
Yeah.
where they don't have kids or anything, and it's just like their child is the Buffalo Bills. So I would be cheering for them just on the fact of, they don't have a Super Bowl. Um,
Yeah, when the Eagles win, I will be rooting for the Chiefs so we don't play the Bills. Not because I think the Bills are a better team, but pretty much for what you just said. I
you're gonna
don't
be
want
cheering for
the
the Chiefs
Eagles
this game?
yeah, because I wanna
I hate
beat the
you.
Chiefs. I don't
Uh-uh.
wanna I don't but again, if the
You're
Eagles
part of the problem. You're part of
I
the problem. You're part of
if
the
the
problem.
Eagles somehow lose to the Commanders, then I will be rooting for the Bills, uh, I will be rooting for the Bills with every fiber of my being. Not
And
because
the
again
first game is the Eagles game, right?
yes,
Yep.
Eagles Commanders is first, Chiefs Bills second. So when
And again,
Eagles win the
it's
first
in the
game,
weird hours. I know it works for, the East Coast, and that's what it has to be, but,
well, it's also weird that the first game is starting noon our time, which means what? It's starting at 3 p.m. On the East Coast. Again, that's a weird time. Again, why don't you start the first game at 5, second game at 8? I've never understood that. Or 8:30 or whatever, but I guess
yeah,
they don't
like
want a
in
game
your
that late.
respective time zones.
Yeah, but I guess they don't want a game that late. But anything else on this episode, Casino, before we get out of
Mm.
here?
No, I'm
We
gonna go drink another thing of tea because this was a lot of talking and I'm already rasping.
yeah. This was a whole episode basically about 2 games, and it's sad to think we only have 3 more football games before the end of the
Yeah,
season.
but don't worry, then we could talk about NBA and things like, Butler getting suspended and all these fun things. And
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's
hockey
true.
playoffs, we got the All-Star games coming up, baseball's right around the corner.
Yeah,
Well,
the only good thing about the NFL season ending is this is when it starts really ramping up in NBA and NHL.
yeah,
So, obviously, next couple episodes will be mostly focused on the Super Bowl and these 4 teams and whichever 2 make it. But after that, after the Super Bowl, then yeah, it's all basketball and hockey. So stay tuned. This is the Only Sports Podcast. I'm for once in 2025 healthy. Will that over there for the first time in 2025 is Sick Casino. So this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I will see you on Sunday, where I definitely will be talking about Eagles, Commanders, and Chiefs, Bills, and who's going to the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, if Eagles lose, that'll be a very, very depressing episode. That'll be very depressing. If they win,
it's not gonna be depressing. It's gonna be high energy because you're just gonna be ranting for 3 hours.
oh God, please, again, with both these games, for the sake of us, for the sake of sports fans everywhere, just let them play the game and don't do any
don't make
dumb
it
bullshit. In either game, don't do dumb bullshit. It's oh God, I don't want to be on Sunday and the first thing I say is, well, we have to talk about, and then it's some dumb penalty, it's some late hit, it's some illegal bullshit that happened.
That's why I really hope that
Ugh.
with that flop that he did against the Texans, that
It's like a wake up call kind of thing.
it's a wake up call too, and it's just highlighted because now
Yep.
every single piece of media, sports media is talking about this, and
Yeah.
if it happens, it's gonna blow up the sports media in
Well,
a bad way.
yeah, well, also on the Commanders, they have that guy, I believe I'm looking it up. Oh yeah, it's Luvu who did the dirty helmet to helmet hit on Hurts that knocked him out of the game. And then he was also the one that got no called on the absolute helmet to helmet massacre against Goff in that
Goff,
Lions
just
game. That again, no call, no flag, insane. So Luvu, stay away from the quarterback's head, and then Chiefs, Bills, just Mahomes. Please don't do any bullshit. Don't do the fake slide. Don't do the tiptoe across the.
Don't be a little bitch. And you know what?
Also, same goes to Josh Allen.
Dude.
Stop bitching to the refs every fucking play.
Well, yeah,
it's as annoying.
Again, I told you, like, I can't knock them for doing that if it's gonna get them their calls.
I know.
It's just the refs got to stop it. The refs got to do it. They got to do their job.
So this, after the first fake out, this is the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. We'll see you Sunday. Also, TikTok banned in the US, but we still have our account up. I can't get it on my phone. But
Didn't it get unbanned?
Yeah, but I can't read. I deleted it off my phone, and then I am trying to download it. It won't let me on my phone, but we still have it on the computer that I can still upload our clips. So
okay.
Follow us on TikTok. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. Adios.